Welcome to the Agent Upgrade Podcast with your hosts Jasmine, Krnjetin, and Alan Corey, where we learn the strategies of top producing real estate agents so you have the tools to upgrade your own real estate career.
Welcome to the Agent Upgrade Podcast with Alan and Jasmine. And Jasmine, look at you. It looks nice to see you back home at your home studio.
With my usual backdrop,
Yes,
which means everything is back to normal.
Nice.
Yeah.
You had a very working, I was about to say an extended vacation, but it was a working vacation. Maybe more work than vacationing, but you pulled it off.
Yeah, it was great. It started off as a 10-day trip to London that got extended to about 70 days in London and Paris and Barcelona and Serbia. So it was great. And working from all those locations, I think coming back, the hardest thing has been that I had gotten used to working in the afternoons and working late.
Because of the time zone?
Because of the time zone, because I was always 6 hours ahead of everyone. And
Right.
that was actually really nice. Now I feel like I wake up and I have to start work. Wherein while we were in Europe, it's like you wake up, you have a gentle morning, you run around, and then by 3 o'clock, which is 9 a.m. here, by 3 p.m. I get to work. And then I work late, right? Like I work until 11 p.m., midnight, whatever it takes. But it was just nice to have like a really rolling, slow morning. And now all of a sudden I'm like, I just worked out and I'm already supposed to be in front of a computer. Like, what is going on? So yeah, working from Europe, it has its advantages. I think working from the West Coast or Hawaii, I guess, would have the opposite, where like you get done with work early.
Yeah. I mean, I had my only way to relate to that story is I went to University of Oregon on the West Coast my freshman year of sophomore year of college, and I was really into college football. And I loved it because the college football game started at 9 a.m. I would just wake up and the games were on. And I got they're over
You didn't
with.
have to wait.
And then I was productive. But here it's like they're in the middle of the day, so you can't really plan anything. You either got to get up early. So anyway, that's neither here or there. But with digital nomads being a thing, it's great. So
I'd like to figure out a way for real estate agents to be able to take advantage of like a digital nomad kind of a lifestyle.
Yeah. I mean,
that...
things are propping up. I haven't used them. I meing, I think obviously being a part of a team or having your own team helps because you can have them cover for you, but that's not a permanent solution. And then there's also door opening services and, things like that. But I think, generating leads is mostly going to be a face-to-face business, and they're going to want to meet you, at least be available on the phone. So
I don't know. I mean, here's an idea. How about what if you had a business partner and you were both into the idea of traveling the world, and you took a 3-month shift where you were the one opening all the doors. The contracts got negotiated with you wherever you are in Costa Rica or whatnot, and then you swap off. And then you each get 3 months of opening doors and then 3 months of not opening doors. Like you can still make phone calls. You can do all of your computer work and you can be prospecting. But when it just comes time, you can even have face-to-face Zoom calls with your clients, which a lot of people still do that. But then just like the actual opening of doors could be your business partner. It's like, hey, Alan is going to take you out because I'm in Costa Rica, but I'm here for everything else.
Wow. I think you just reinvented our entire business and
whole business.
I love it. Even better is if that you and your partner, like, let's say they opened up an office in London or whatever. And then it's like, well, you're 3 months working in London doing real estate deals, 3 months in America or whatever. And like, if you pick that same location, wow.
Yeah.
You're an international team.
Yeah. I had so much fun, because being in the real estate business, traveling, you're always looking at everything through the lens of real estate, and so just being and seeing how other real estate offices run, like in London or in Paris or in Barcelona, just kind of seeing the cost. Like it was really strange we went from Paris to Barcelona, and in Paris, it was like, holy crap, this is a $2 million flat for 500 square meters.
Yeah.
And then going to Barcelona, I'm like, I think I'm in heart of Barcelona. I don't think this is a crappy neighborhood, but this condo is only $200,000.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
really kind of just really interesting to see how real estate works in other parts of the world. It's super fun.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I like the idea of having an office in London. I think that sounds awesome.
One thing I wanted to talk before we get to our awesome guest today, where we're going to pick the brain of Adriana Scholz, a Boston agent with 23 years of experience, is I saw something that you did on social media that I really liked regarding how we're in sort of a new time with higher interest rates where ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages, are not to be avoided. And there might be some benefits to that. And I sort of wanted to follow up on your social media posts and dig a little bit deeper on your thoughts there.
Yeah, so it's definitely when fixed interest rates start going up, ARMs become our new go-to, right? Because those are still hanging out into fours, where in fixed rates are high fives, sixes, give or take, depending on credit scores and so forth. And so it's just a really good tool to have to be able to talk to your buyers and be able to educate them about how adjustable rate mortgages work, and really kind of driving home this concept that the most important thing is for you to find a home that you love, that you want to live in, and that you don't have to be married to the mortgage. It's just that we're just getting you into the home. That's the only thing that matters, is getting you into the home. As long as that monthly payment is affordable, then that's it. It's not going to be forever. The markets are going to shift. There's going to come an opportunity where we're going to be able to refinance you to a probably lower 30-year fixed at some point in the future. So getting an adjustable rate mortgage is just one of those tools that we now have in that we kind of are starting to use. I mean, honestly, for 2.5, 3 years. Nobody even talked about ARMs because everything was so low that ARMs didn't make sense.
So basically buy the forever home, but just because you have an ARM doesn't mean it's a forever mortgage.
Yeah, it's not your forever mortgage. And, just use it as a tool to get in there. It's going to be fixed for 5 years. It's going to be fixed for 7, sometimes even 10. Not all lenders have competitive ARM rates. Like I know in our portfolio rates, those are really, really good. But sometimes when we go to other investors, they're not super competitive because the market is just so funky right now. But ARMs are a good thing again. And I'm just kind of educating clients about that whole thing again.
And you don't necessarily have to refinance, because who knows, in 5 years when that's due, interest rates most likely odds are it will be lower, and you benefited on the ARM rather than the reverse where it goes up. It most likely will go down in 5 years. No, that's great. That's great info for, I think, real estate agents to know and understand and also advise their clients. So thanks for going over that. Now let's segue to bringing in our guest here, Adriana Scholz of Coldwell Banker in the greater Boston area. Welcome to Agent Upgrade.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So in your bio, it says you've been working since 1999. It takes a skillful agent to be in the business for that long. What do you sort of credit your sort of longevity and success to, and has it changed over those 20?
How have you not lost your mind yet?
I know. I'm so far, I don't know. In this market right now, we'll see how it goes. But so it's a tough market right now. So I would say the biggest thing is, I mean, first of all, I truly love what I do. This business is not a part-time business, right? I always say when people come to me, oh, I love doing real estate, I'm going to do part-time. The first thing I always say to everybody, you have to be available all the time for your clients. So part-time is not going to work. You have to really love what you're doing and enjoying it, because if you're not, this is not going to work. You have to be available during vacation, Monday through Sunday. It's not all the time. I mean, I sometimes work from the beach, right? Right now I'm in my car. I do a lot of business in my car. In between showings, I write up offers. But it's really, I truly enjoy what I'm doing. And that's the number one most important thing that's, kept me alive, so to say, in this business for 23 years. But it's not always been easy. When I started, I actually did real estate in Germany too. So when you were saying, Jasmine, that you were abroad, I have actually been really doing it for 25 years. I did a little bit in Germany during college, and that's where it was kind of a side gig. from a company. It works all different in Germany, and probably going to take too long to talk about that. But I kind of like, got in it during college, got a feel for it. Then I moved to this country to finish my college education, and then I got kind of recruited by a real estate company, by Coldwell, and I've been with them ever since.
Wow.
So it's kind of a little international experience.
That's fascinating. So real estate. So when you first started working for Coldwell Banker, did you join a team? Were you on your own? How did you get into? What was your first experience working?
Yeah. So I went on my own. However, we actually had a great mentoring program back then, which Coldwell Banker unfortunately doesn't offer anymore now, because how it works with real estate, and Alan, I'm sure it's in your area as well, but you go to a real estate school, you do the classes, and then you just got thrown out to the wolves, right? There's not really any other, you have a manager, but the manager manages usually, we have like 65 agents in our office right now. So they can't really be there for every step of the way. So we used to have a mentoring program, and this wonderful guy took me on, and I kind of worked under him, followed him along, shared my commission when I had one for the first 3 deals. But I learned so much being under his wing, and he had a lot of experience already. So that was super, super helpful. So that's what happened in 99. Then, 2000 market, 2001, 2002, it just kept going up and up and up. And you didn't have to do much. Homes just kind of sold themselves, really. But I never was on a team until 2009. So what happened is I was in the market where just, up, up, up. Everything was great. Everybody made tons of money. Then the market crashed in 2008. That's the stock market. The real estate market really got affected more in like 2009, or at least in this area. I don't know how it was in other areas. And it just came to a stop, and nothing sold anymore. And it was a very scary time. At this point, I had 3 kids under 5. My husband at the time, who's now my ex-husband, was in contracting. So his business stopped, my business stopped. So it was scary. And I went through the up and the down, and now the up again. So I have been in any kind of market you can imagine. And it was, yes, very, very difficult back then.
2009, I think February of 2009 was the only month in my entire career that I did not make a commission at all. And I think one of the advantages, Adriana, in being and having gone through the market. So when I see market shifts, I'm like, it's just a market shift. You no longer go into like the panic mode, because we've been through the toughest market and we got through the funnel. Like that was my mantra. We just got to get through the funnel. That's the only thing that matters in 2009, was just get through the funnel. Don't get kicked out of the business any which way we can. So what were some of the tools and things that you had to use and kind of adapt in the last market shift that we went through?
Yeah, so in 2009, I kind of tried to get into the niche of the short sales and foreclosures, as unfortunately most agents tried. So there was a lot of competition. And then I just, worked my referral business. But that's also when I decided to go on a team. So my team member now in my office, who's been great, Dave DiGregorio, we kind of formed a team together in 2009. And therefore, we kind of shared the pains and the successes, right? So we helped each other just, get out of everything, basically, get out of the low, so to say. And ever since then, I have been on a team, and it's very, very helpful because, it's also with vacations, right? If you're on your own, everybody needs a vacation once in a while, even though the newbies say, oh, no, I'm going to, work until I drop dead. And that's exactly what's going to happen if you don't take the time out. So we have been helping, we have been growing our business. I still, to this point, I have an assistant, but she's just kind of on the back, like, doing all my social marketing, helping me with my marketing campaigns, my emails. But I'm the only contact for my clients because I'm a type A personality still. And I want my clients to just, if I take on a listing, I want them to know that I'm the sole contact for them, because nobody else knows the listing as well as I do, right? When I take the listing, nobody knows my buyer as well as I do, because nobody can, right? Because they're not going around with them. They're not servicing the listings. So contact, I still stayed my same. So I looked just on my own. So I looked at a lot of agents that formed very large teams, and they started giving their clients away to team members. And the team members were new agents. And I mean, sometimes it works, but in a lot of times people don't like that, right? So my entire business is on personal referrals. So it was past clients, family members, friends, co-workers. I don't really advertise at all anymore. It's just word of mouth referrals. So if somebody, let's say Susan refers her friend Margie to me, right? Margie is expecting to get my services and not somebody else that wasn't referred to her. And that's how I look at it too. If somebody refers a roofer to me or a loan officer, I don't like if I have to talk to somebody else the entire time because that person wasn't referred to me. So that's how I've been kind of handling my business the whole time. And it's the biggest thing I would say in real estate right now, especially in this market, is, and in any market, you have to be honest. What I learned when I started in this business, right? You can't know everything. And I was young when I started. I was 23. So, you know, people ask you questions and you don't know the answer because it's normal. And then you try to make something up because you don't want to look like an idiot, right? So you scramble and you're like, oh, I think it's this. It's nothing worse than trying to come up with a solution that you really don't know the answer to, or trying or lie. That's the worst thing you can do in this business, because as soon as the client finds out that you've been dishonest, even if you probably didn't even mean, right? You just didn't have the answer. That's it. The relationship is over. The loyalty is gone and there's just no more trust. So I learned this in my business. If you don't know the answer, and even after 23 years now, I'm not perfect, right? There's still things I don't know the answer about. I'll say, you know what? This is a great question. I don't have the answer for this question right now, but I will get it for you and I will find a solution.
To piggyback off that, and then actually following through on that, right? So a lot of people say, I don't know, I'll find an answer for you. And then it takes the client asking them 2 or 3 times, hey, did you get an answer for this? Did you get an answer for this? That means they don't trust you. But if you come back to them and you can give them an answer before they ask you again, or even if you say, hey, I don't have an answer yet, I'm still looking into it, but just know I haven't forgot about your question. That instantly builds trust right away. And you can even take it a step further. Hey, I give you an answer to a question you had yesterday. I found out today it was wrong. This is the correct answer. Like all of that stuff is trust building. And I think that's huge. And I think that's really smart way of thinking.
Small. It's all about small promises kept.
Yes.
Right?
And then another big thing. So right now, I don't know if you feel the same, Ellen, in your area, but there's so many deals right now that have issues, especially with loans, right? So I sell a lot of new construction. So the issue is, you know, they locked their rate back in January. So every new construction is delayed. And I'm sure it's everywhere like this in the country because of the supply chain issues, correct? So I tell all my clients, don't end your lease, right? Make different arrangements. Do not, the closing that's set in the purchase and sales agreement will most likely not happen. Right. So it doesn't matter how many times you say something to clients, a lot of them still don't listen. So now they're in a position they can't lock the rate anymore. And especially in the high-end market, I have a lot of, 2.4, 2 million, 3.2. The change in interest rates makes a huge difference. I mean, sometimes it's a $2,000, $2,500 difference a month. And now people can't afford it anymore. So I notice right now in this market, it is super important, more so than ever, to have experience, know how to find solutions, and have connections. Because if it wouldn't be for my connections in this area with lenders, attorneys, builders, other realtors, half of my deals would be falling apart right now. That's how bad it is here right now, especially because of the mortgage rates.
Yeah, I refer to that with and say rock stars hang out with rock stars. Like I'm I can only do so much, but then I align with a rock star mortgage lender, Jasmine. I align with a rock star contractor, a closing attorney, plumber, electrician, whatever it is, because we're all in this together. And if we all want to make each other look good, we all want to put everyone in a really good light, and what is it? All tides lift all boats kind of thing. So, it seems like you subscribe to that same sort of mentality. Like, if I give you a recommendation, I know for sure it's going to be handled. I don't have to follow up. If that person does fail me, then I replace them. But we've been in this, I think you and I both been in this long enough where we've cultivated that good team. It took us 3 or 4 years to find those rock stars to surround ourselves with. And if you're a new agent listening to this, now's the time to be doing that, really vetting out your different lenders and contractors, and because that is your recommendation. It reflects back on you. I'm not doing the work. I'm not changing the toilet, right? But if I recommend a plumber that shows up on time and has a decent quote, then that looks good on me. It's not I just randomly pick someone out of the phone book.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell clients the best thing is to stay with my team. Obviously, you can't force somebody to go with a particular person. You can't steer, red line someone, right? That's illegal. But for example, I have a transaction now with a very, very wonderful client. And she decided to go with her lender out of town, out of state, which is not always an issue. But in this case, unfortunately, it was a large lender. I'm not going to name any names. I didn't have a good feeling from the start with, because nobody returned my call from that institution, right? I don't like that. I'm really much on top of everything with my clients. Why is nobody getting back to me? Communication is key, right? Then it was given from one loan officer to another, not processor. It was really switched around so many times. Didn't have a good feeling. I told my client about it. I said, listen, you can go with whoever you want to, but I don't have a good feeling. And needless to say, so we were supposed to close today. On Thursday, after I was on hold with the lender for an hour, I finally got an answer saying, oh, we're denying your client's loan. Without giving me denial letter. He said, oh, we're going to send out a denial letter. I was not informed at all that there were even problems. Neither was the client. So that doesn't sit well with me. So needless to say, that particular institution is wiped off my list. If anybody ever has a pre-approval with them again, I will remember this. So now I had to scramble. I do a lot of business around here with someone that I've known for a long time, who is the number one loan officer right now in the country, or at least in New England. I don't know in the country, but and he took it and he can close it in 10 days. Only because I sent him a ton of loans, right? So he's helping me out. So it's again, it's connections. If I wouldn't, he would have probably not dropped everything for me if I wouldn't have sent him that much business, right? Same, the attorney saved her deposit. I try to help. It's not, so this is the other thing, right? New agent said to me, there's a new agent office. Oh, why are you even dropping everything for her? It's not something you did wrong. Yeah, it's not, but obviously I want her to get into the home, and I still feel bad, and she's still my client, right? So I'm doing everything that I can to help her. I dropped everything I was doing to get her into a different program, and now we're closing on July 5th, and he just took the loan over.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think there's another story there. It's just resilience. Like a lot of people are like, sorry, you got to know for a loan. Oh, well, okay. And you're like,
all right. Too bad, I'm sorry.
I had like an appraisal issue. Okay, let's do this. Let's do that. Like, that's
correct.
The deal's never, like, once it's under contract, to me, it's like, that deal's never going to die. Like, we are going to find a way, unless the client comes to me and says, get me out of this deal. Right. But let's do this, let's do that. Like, have option A, B, and C at all times, because otherwise agents start counting their money as soon as it's under contract, and it's like, wait, you got a lot of work to go before that payday comes.
But I think even if you are if you are a newer agent and you maybe haven't learned all the tools and tricks, when this happens, then I do this. If you do surround yourself with people, like if you're a newer agent, but you work with a really experienced lender, I think that sometimes newer agents feel like, oh, well, I'm going to work with this new loan officer because he picks up the phone at 11 p.m. and he works with credit scores of 0, and not realizing that if you are a new agent and you are working with a brand new loan officer, even though that is really nice, you need a really experienced loan officer, right? If you're new, you need somebody that's been there, that's done that for 20 years, have stubbed their toes on every single amendment possible, and they can tell you right off the bat, because you could screw up a deal if neither one of you knows. Or same thing with closing attorneys, title and contracts and amendments and escrow monies, all that kind of stuff. If you have somebody that can really take you under your wing and say, okay, you're a new agent, let me help you out. Same thing with contractors, like, hey, or God, we all know this for sure, but like home inspectors, need we say more?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or also shadow an experienced agent, right? Like when I know we don't offer, like a lot of companies don't offer the mentoring program. I'm telling you, it was the best. But now even I had an agent approach me and asking me if he or she can follow me along. I said, yeah, I mean, I have a lot of experience, so there has to be something in return, right? So what I had to do when I was in that program, I attended home inspections for free for that agent that mentored, right? Nice. I did open houses all the time for that agent because I learned so much from him. So there has to be something in return. Oh, and then the response I got, I don't want to do anything in return. I just want you to teach me. I'm like,
yeah. Right.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work like that. So if somebody, I always say, if you're hungry enough, you have to help yourself. So this is an industry, right? We're all on commission, right? It's 1099 commission. If you are hungry enough, if you want to make it, you have to do maybe something, a few things for free, right? Just to learn and get experience, and be smart about it. Again, don't go to the client and make up all kinds of things so they might think you're experienced. I know for a fact when I talk to my clients, everybody says, as long as somebody's honest with us and says, hey, we just entered the business, but I have somebody great that I can ask questions in my office, or as you said, an experienced lender, attorney, someone who has been in the business for a long time. Clients will appreciate that so much more than if you jump in and say, hey, I just got my license last week, but I got it. I know everything and I got this. This is so easy. It's not easy. It's funny, my 15-year-old son always tells me he wants to get into real estate too. It's so easy what you do. You sit in your car, you write up offers, you drive around, you show houses, you're on the phone. That's not work, it's like, and I'm like, okay, so,
well, it's not digging ditches exactly, but
yeah, no, I love what I do, right? But it's everybody can show a home. I tell people that, right? Then it comes to getting the deal accepted, right? If you have offers, because we still have multiple offers here to get and then the most important thing is, and the hardest part is to keep the deal going and keep it together, because that's where the hard, part comes in. When you actually, because every deal, Alan, you know that too. Every deal, or not every deal, but 90% of the transactions will have some kind of a little hiccup somewhere around along the way. I mean, it's just the way how you handle it.
Experience helps, and so I think the distill this conversation is basically figuring out what you lack and surround yourself with the complementary skill set, whether it's experience. If you have no experience, surround yourself with experienced people. If you're terrible at sales, well, then at least surround yourself with other people who are good at sales. It's going to be tough to be a real estate agent if you're bad at sales, but you get the ideas. What's your strengths and weaknesses, and then complement your weaknesses with your rock stars around you. Like, are you not detail oriented? Then get people around you that are super detail oriented, or if vice versa, and that way you guys can kind of really grow together. You and you're not really a team, but your extended team, your partners, unofficial partners, your referral network kind of thing. Exactly. I know my ears perked up back when you said this earlier in our conversation, and so I want to come back to it. I assume some of our listeners. How do you get into the new construction market selling $2 to $3 million homes? Like, where are you in your career? How do you build those relationships? How did you because that's a very common question. Like, everyone wants to sell new construction, but how do you begin? How do you start that?
I mean, and again, unfortunately, it's experience, right? When I first started, I had mostly first home buyers with small purchases. So then over the time, because most buyers, I would say about 90% of my buyers came back to me for this. This is now their third home in a lot of cases, right? not many people can do their first home as a new construction. But then I also have a lot of experience with a lot of connections with builders. And the way how I establish that, I go around, I look for not really lots, but lots where there's a house, empty lots. There's no empty lots around here anymore in the Boston area. I shouldn't say now, but very, very rare. But I know how to look up, which properties on a double lot. How long have the people lived there? Is it a small home that maybe the person lived in it for 30 years? Does it look run down? So I literally drive by those properties. I look them up on the public record. I put cards in the mailbox. I send out mailers to actually get properties for builders, right? To find them lots to build on. And then it's kind of an unspoken law. If I find them something, they also have to give me the listing back. And I can't do that many times. Everybody's looking for those lots, right? But all these builders now know me. I've been in the business for a long time. They also know when I bring a buyer, they are all very, very well vetted. I don't work with anybody unless they are solidly pre-approved. If somebody brings me a pre-qualification letter, I don't work with them. They have to be solidly pre-approved. All the ducks have to be in a row, and then I'll bring them to the sellers. And people know that I have, solid buyers. So new constructions are really hard to get in when you're a new agent. I'm just being honest. And the higher the price range, it's the second, third time buyers that came back to me that are now, they are now in their second or third home, and therefore they can afford this price range. But when I first started, it was mostly all low-end first home buyers. Everybody has to start out somewhere. That's, but that's okay. They become second and third home buyers, right? That's how I looked at it when I started 23 years ago.
Yeah. I think that every client is worth like 7 transactions in your life. Yeah. So you got to treat them like gold from no matter what transaction it is, if it's $100,000 purchase or a $3 million new construction. Sorry, Alan, you were going to say.
No, I was going to say, so beginning of my career, you're selling beat up homes, fixer uppers, they're not pretty homes. And sort of the way I get a new construction a little bit is also saying, hey, to my client, I think a home renovator or a builder is probably the best buyer for you because we're going to have appraisal issues and financing issues, the foundation's cracked or whatever is going on. I think this will scare away some first-time home buyers. Do you mind if I reach out to some builders on your behalf? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. If if that's what you recommend, they can pay in cash, or they're not going to be spooked by investment issues, or I'm sorry, the repair issues. And so then I started building those conversations and relationships with builders saying, hey, I got a fixer upper. What do you look for in a fixer upper? And then they would just tell me, hey, I need to know, can I build 3,000 square feet to it? I usually cost me whatever, $150, $250 a square foot, whatever it was at the time. And then I could kind of do the math. And then when I started having more productive conversations, when I was calling them with my fixer uppers saying, hey, I think this one's going to need $200,000, but I think you can sell it for $400,000 more. Like once I figured out the formulas that they use to sign off, to look at a deal on the back of the envelope, and then I could reverse engineer it and say, oh, this is something that you like. And then I started, being a guy where the builders would pick up my phone when they called because I knew the numbers that they wanted to hear. And I would say, hey, this is how much meat's on the bone, whether it's 50,000, 100,000, and, split this lot into 2. And then I learned a lot from my own personal investing, and I started investing in myself. And then other clients are like, bring those to me. Don't bring it to the builder. And then so sometimes I did that. And then sometimes I brought the builder and the buyer, and they would custom build a home for them. And so it's just sort of figuring out, your client is not always the client that's selling. Your client could be the builder who's going to be buying. And it could be the other first-time home buyer who wants a renovated property in that neighborhood, and you pair them up. And so it's sort of just putting out those little spider webs, and you don't know where they're going to connect, kind of thing.
I think contractors, like a general contractor, renovator, builder, those are good people to take out to lunch and get to know them, right? If you can get some time with them as a newer agent, because you're going to need somebody that can tell you, oh, that roof is going to be about 12 grand, right? As opposed to sitting around for a week trying to get quotes from a bunch of people like, hey, it's 12 grand one way or another. Is that going to make the deal, break the deal? Like, you need to be able to make that decision on a fly. And so if you took out a contractor or 2 or 3 out to lunch or drinks or something and just like, hey, these are the typical things that I come up with. What does an HVAC run? How much does it cost to replace some flooring? So as you're going and addressing amendments to, you'll know some numbers, and like you said, they'll pick up the phone when you call. If you start learning about them, obviously. Also, what are you looking for? What kind of properties can it bring to you for your deals?
But then you extend it too and say, I know you're a renovator. What homes are you working on that you're about to bring to market?
Right.
And so now you've got leads on off-market homes because you know all the builders building and renovating and flipping homes. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Also, I have a golden list of contractors, as I call it. So over the years, I put, all kinds of handymans, and then plumbers, electricians, carpenters, all kinds of contractors. And I put them on my list. So what I tell them, I said, listen, I give this list to my clients. In return, if I need you for, quickly for one of my clients or for a project where I need an estimate, can you please, provide that courtesy to me? And that's what they do, because over the years I sent them a lot of clients, and I kind of established this list. But as a new agent, what I would advise, again, as we already talked about, it kind of like surround you with people at the beginning that know the market. If it's another realtor, and a loan officer, or an attorney, or whoever's been in the business for a long time, and just kind of pick their brain and do whatever you can, get some experience going. But it's like in any business, right? If you start a restaurant business, if you start, I don't know, any kind of business, the first 2-3 years is a lot of footwork and a lot of hustle, and if you get through those 2-3 years, you're good to go.
Right. This is definitely the hardest. So what I would imagine, and I don't know if this has changed much since 1999, but people probably relate moving to a new town and starting their career, like maybe they've job transfer or whatever, moving back home, away from home. Real estate agent, you basically starting all over. Was there any advantages or disadvantages also being from a different country and building those networks and earning that trust?
The disadvantage was when I started, I had like no, family here that buys a home for me. For example, another realtor that started at the same time as me, he had all his college friends all of a sudden started buying homes, right? Mine, most of them were homes. So there was a disadvantage, that I just didn't have that clientele lined up, so to say, when I started. The advantage, kind of my accent always helped me a little bit, because when I called someone, they're like, oh yeah, I know you, right? It's and maybe having this international experience, but it was in general a little hard. I'm not saying that to get sympathy or anything. I just fought through it. I've always been a fighter. I've always been a hard worker, but I just didn't have all these friends lined up, again, from college, or or just people just got married. So if you're doing it in the town where you're born and raised, I think you kind of have a clientele right away when you start, right? If you started the right, and I just didn't have that. So there was a big disadvantage, but I pulled through. The first 3 years were really tough, but then when I was just working hard, doing a great job. So then the referral business started, and then it got easier. But I'm a very honest, very direct person. If somebody comes to me and they say, oh, we want to be a new agent, I always tell people, have some money in the bank. Okay. Yeah. Don't go in it. You have to pay fees to you can't just go out on your own. You have to have a broker's license. I got my broker's license in 2005, but at first you only have the salesperson's license, right? So you need to work under a name, a brokerage. There's the MLS fees. There's the Greater Boston, or obviously it's not in every, we have the Greater Boston real estate fees. We have, the attorney, the legal assistant fees. So you need to have at least 6 months expenses saved up in an account. Otherwise, or if you have somebody else who pays your expenses, like when I started, I was married. So, I at least had somebody else who could pay the mortgage for a while, all right? But if you're on your own and you really rely on your income and you don't even have 6 months saved up, I don't think it's a good idea to start in this business without that, to be completely honest. You have to have savings in the bank, because you're not going to make money. You're not going to, even if you come in, right, and you have a client and you sell a house within the first months, typically, right, it's at least 30 more days until you have your closing. And, so you need to at least 2-3 months, you have no income. And that's just how it goes.
And you don't want to be that desperate agent saying, I got to close this deal to pay my rent or feed myself. Like that's, people pick up on that scent quick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're desperate, so what happens after I started, then shortly after I got a divorce, and I was in that situation, I was desperate. I was here by myself in this country, right? I had nobody. I couldn't pay my rent. It's not a great position to be in because people could feel it, right? All of a sudden, I was separated. I couldn't pay my bills, right? And then all of a sudden I had like 8 under agreement. So I thought, oh, this is good, right? For a new agent, 8 pendings is good. And then 5 fell apart for various issues. And I was desperate. And people, out of my own experience, they could feel that I started to be this pushy salesperson, which I never am. If you buy a house, fine. If you don't buy a house, that's fine too. You know, I mean, I would like to sell you one, but if you decide differently, I'm not going to be starving to death. Thank God. But back then it was different. So people could feel that. And I felt like they were always doing like this. Oh my God, you know, it was, don't let anybody feel or see that you're desperate. It's not,
I think
people don't want to know that.
Can pick up on that, like energetically speaking, people can pick up on it, and it just kind of like it has like this heavy weight that you just bring to the desperation.
Right. And then they feel you just want to sell them anything just to make money, right? But if you have an easy going, like, okay, it's fine. I mean, you find one, you know, no worries. And people pick up on that, and then they are more relaxed because it's very stressful, right? Last year I had clients that wrote up 11 offers before one got accepted, because last year was insane. I mean, I wrote up offers 150,000 over the asking price, and the offers didn't get accepted. 40% over. I had one offer 40% above, and it didn't get accepted. So you got to stay calm and just.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because I know a lot of agents, I think the answer is going to be experience and confidence, but like newer agents are going to say, like, how do I convince someone to put an offer 30 or 40% over asking price? That seems, an agent saying that seems insane. Obviously, if you feel that way, you're not going to you're not going to make your client write up an offer because you don't believe it yourself. So you saw an opportunity and you say, hey, we got to put in an offer $150,000 over. That took some confidence to talk your clients into doing that. It took the clients trusting you to do that. And then you still lost. And so it's like, see, I told you this is, you know, you have to believe me that if we have to go 200 on the next one, but to get there, I think a lot of agents, because I see offers coming in where there are some 100K over, but then there's like 5 that are 5,000 over. And I'm like, are you completely crazy, or can you not convince your clients to come up higher? So how do you get your clients to basically go all in and do these big offers?
So typically what I do is a CMA, the comparative market analysis. Last year that didn't really work, right? Because if I pulled properties 3 months ago, that just didn't work anymore, that price, because the prices increased so much. As in 3 months, they went up 15% in this area. It was in 3 months. So I typically say, listen, again, unfortunately, it comes down to experience. I'm not going to lie. I said, I've been doing this for a long time. I have X amount of clients. I'm doing this with them every single day. If you make an offer 10%, 15% under the asking price, it will just not get accepted. So in most cases, it took this one time of them losing out, right? Where they like, especially if they didn't know me and they weren't personally referred to me. If they were personally referred to me, they actually went back to the last client that I helped that sent them to me, right? And they said, hey, you know, she's saying I have to offer that much. Is that true? Did you have to pay that much? And then they say yes, and that helps. I never disclose with anybody else what other people paid for. That's client confidentiality. But when they go themselves, right, and check with their friends, obviously that helps. If not, then a lot of clients had to lose out once or twice on a deal, and then they said, oh, I guess you were right. So I also have the advantage because I know a lot of the agents, of the listing agents, and then after the fact, after the purchase and sales agreement was signed, they disclosed to me and said, yeah, listen, it went for X amount. So I don't really have to wait until it closed. And then I got back to my clients and said, this particular property that you made an offer on actually sold 100,000 over. And then for the next round, they believe me, and then they go in with that price. But a lot of times people, it's not listening, but it's learning, right? They lose out on 2, 3, 4 homes, and then they're like, you know what, let's listen to her and see
where
we go.
I I think that's it. It's earning their trust. And you're like, hey, I, as your trusted advisor, I say 10% over on this one specific house in this market. And then they either say yes or no. And then it's not like I told you so, but the results are like I told you so, later. And it's like, okay, this person is not just trying to run up the price on me to make a bigger commission. And if I really want a house, I'm going to need to listen to her. I think that's
And sometimes it takes a few tries. Exactly. And it's, you just have to have patience. I mean, I had this one client, 11 offers, actually 10 offers they didn't get, and then the 11th offer they got. And I always tell people I don't have the crystal ball, right? So it's one property that went 40,000 over the asking price. I'm sorry, 40%, not 40,000 over the asking price. And that was a $2 million property that went for 2,400,000.
Yeah.
And I said to them, I said, listen, that even I couldn't even imagine. They went 20% over. They did 2.2 million. And I always tell people I don't have the crystal ball. Some people want this particular property so bad for whatever reason, they will pay an insane amount of money. And that's even something I can't predict, right?
Right.
And I do this game. You probably do the same thing. I call it a game with clients. I always say, let's say it's a $900,000 property listed for $899,900, right? What is the house worth to you, right? If you say, if somebody pays $1 million for it, then good for them. I would have never paid $1 million for it. If I come back to you and say the property sold for 900,000, and then you say to me, oh, I would have paid that, then that's what you have to offer right now, right?
Yeah.
If it sold for 950 and you said, oh, I would have paid for that, then unfortunately that's what you have to offer right now. There's still 15, 20 offers, single family market, still in this market on each property. So I never know what the next lower offer is usually, but I don't want to be in a position where I say, oh, I would have paid that. So you have to come in with your strongest offer right to begin with. Most sellers here in the Boston area will not come back for best and final. They pick one at the first round. That's how it's been for the last 2 years.
Yeah, I get that situation where I'll say, listen, the comps say this, and this is 3 to 6 months ago. The market is telling us this, that the list price, and it's already got 10 offers. The market's telling us that this is underpriced, regardless of what the comps say. As your advisor, I think you should put in this price. And then sometimes I kind of get them over the cliff where I'll say, hey, I think you've got a 50% chance of winning if you put an offer 10% above or whatever. But I think you have a 75% chance of winning, bidding more if you put it 15 to 20%. But I think if you want to be in that top 5%, it's going to take 35% or whatever it is. And then that way they are, I think, mentally prepared to lose, because it wasn't like, hey, you got a 100% chance, but let's do this. It's like, hey, wherever you're comfortable making an offer, ultimately it's your decision, because the offers are going to be what it's worth to someone out there. Someone may say this house is worth $2 million when other people say to them it's worth $1 million. But that's why I try to put it in the brackets. And then they kind of say, hey, do we want to go all in on this house, or do we want to be 75% in and be happy if we got it, kind of thing. So sometimes that's sort of putting it in brackets around different offers and giving them options. They feel like they're in control, but also they're mentally saying, hey, we know it's not 100% shoo-in that we're going to get this house.
Yeah, I'll usually tell when clients are talking to me about, like, because they'll come to me and they'll be like, we're thinking of offering this, maybe we're going to offer that. What do you think we should offer? And I'm like, that's a great question for me. I have no idea, but let me talk you through some numbers. And so my advice usually is, at what point does it hurt? Right? Like emotionally, there is a point where it starts hurting, and I tell them, okay, so let's get to the point where it hurts, and then throw in an extra few thousand on top of that, just to remember. And so that could be, that could be 475, on a 450 offer, or that could be 490, and then just throw in a little bit extra, because and then you've gone as far as you're possibly able to stretch yourself. And then maybe that's enough, but it seems that still the market is really, really hot. And so maybe we don't have 40 offers in every home, but I'm still seeing multiple offers across the board on everything. It's rare to see a house sitting. We had a house, Alan, you'll probably remember, this is in your old neck of the woods back in Decatur. What was that listing that it was listed at like 1 point something, and it ended up selling for like high twos.
Yeah, well, I think it was similar numbers to Adriana. It was I think it was a 2,199 listing sold for 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah, yeah.
That's even high. Yeah, that's
And that's intense for that for that part of town. That there
That's
is
the first
usually
$2 million house sold.
there is
yeah.
There is no $2.5 million home that's sold in
There's no
Decatur
2 million before that. Yeah,
Oh.
right.
Yeah.
So,
So it's still an interesting market out there, but it's great to have these strategies and just to know, like, and also just to hear somebody else talk their clients through it, right? So that you can kind of just get in the mood, and that's why we love asking these questions, because I feel like unless you've done it a gajillion times yourself, you just don't know. Are you going to come off as too pushy, or, and I always try to tag team with my agents because I know what my agents are saying. And so I'm always the one that's confirming, like, yes, it is a crazy market and you do need to go as high as she's saying. She's not just trying to sell you a house if you want to get it. But yeah, it only takes, like you said, Adriana, it just takes a missing out on a couple of them. And then you're like, all right, I'm going to do what you say, because it's too painful to not get a home under contract.
exactly.
So, you seem to be picking up a lot of clients through word of mouth, referrals, past clients. Your sphere of influence seems to be your strongest indicator. Have you tried other methods, social media, flyers?
Social media.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Oops. We're losing Adriana here. It looks like her
Social media, and we lost her.
But yeah, I'm curious to hear this, because a lot of older agents, especially someone who's been in the business for over 20 years, social media is the last thing that they pick up on. So when she rejoins us, we can kind of dig into that. But yeah, it's to kind of flesh out that point a little bit more that we were talking about. It's getting your clients to make that offer is very, very difficult for everyone, but it takes experience and it takes trust. I think it comes down to trust. Do they trust you? Why do they trust you? You're not desperate. You're not just here to make a deal. Two, you've been there before. You've weathered the storms. You've been in the up markets. You've been in the down markets. You bought real estate yourself, whether your primary at a minimum or investment property. All these different things can earn trust and experience, and that gives you confidence as an agent, and that confidence creates trust. So it all sort of like feeds upon itself.
Yeah. It's sort of a catch-22. And I think that also, like, being on a team, you can use that as your leverage. Like, our team has weathered all kinds of markets, right? Like, even though maybe this is your first year in real estate, but you can say, our team has been through all kinds of markets. We've been around for 10 years or for 20 years or forever. Right. You can just kind of ride the coattails of the team. And then also you have your team leader that you can lean on, or broker or whoever, and be like, hey, what do I do here? Like, what do I say? And then also just, I find it incredibly helpful. As long as I've been doing, same like Adriana, I've been doing this for, way too long, but I still love listening to other loan officers talk and tell me and show me how they talk to their clients. How do you explain APR? How do you talk to them about rates? What do you say when it's a multiple offer? Like, I find it super helpful to just get other people's input and scripts.
Listening to podcasts like this one, you're always in learning.
Yeah.
All right, a little technical difficulties here, so we wrap up Agent Upgrade. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Thanks for listening in. Thanks, Jasmine.
Thank you. It was fun.
Thank you for listening to the Agent Upgrade podcast. If you are an agent looking for a new mortgage lender, start with Jasmine at jasmineteam.com. If you want to learn about real estate investing and working with investors, check in with Alan at thehouseofac.com. See you next time on Agent Upgrade.